I want you to stand up, walk over to a mirror, lift your shirt, and take a long, honest look at your stomach. What exactly are you looking at? Is it a heavy, sagging layer of tissue that physically hangs over your belt line? Is it a soft, incredibly stubborn little pouch that sits right at the bottom of your abdomen? Or is it a rock-hard, protruding mount that feels like a fully inflated basketball? For decades, the fitness and diet industries have aggressively sold us a massive, oversimplified lie. They tell us that fat is just fat. They tell us that the only way to get rid of it is to step on a treadmill, starve yourself, and burn more calories than you consume. But from a biological, medical perspective, this is a catastrophic misunderstanding of the human body. Those three different stomach shapes I just described are not the same tissue. They are three completely different biological anomalies, created by three entirely different physiological triggers. One is caused by an invisible hormone mimicking chemical. One is constructed by relentless neurological panic, and the third isn't even made of fat at all. If you treat all three of these bellies with the exact same generic diet plan, you will exhaust yourself, you will ruin your metabolism, and you will never, ever lose the weight. Today we are going to expose the hidden diagnostic map of your midsection. We are going to break down the three distinct belly archetypes, reveal the terrifying medical truth about what they indicate inside your body, and most importantly, I will give you the exact, highly specific biological protocol required to dismantle the specific shape you have. Let us begin with the first, and arguably the most medically dangerous archetype. Type 1. The hard drum. Imagine a man walking down the beach. He has relatively thin arms, skinny legs, and perhaps even a sunken chest, but his stomach protrudes outward like he swallowed a watermelon whole. It is high, it is tight, and if you were to press your hand against it, it would not jiggle. It feels incredibly dense, like a highly pressurized car tire. Millions of people have this belly, and they spend hours doing sit-ups trying to burn it off. But if you try to exercise this belly away, you are completely wasting your time. Why? Because this is not an accumulation of fat. This is an active, screaming liver crisis. In the medical community, when we see the hard drum, we are almost always looking at severe hepatic stress or early-stage ascites. I want you to think of your liver as the ultimate high-performance water filter for your body. When you abuse that filter, it becomes choked with stiff, rigid scar tissue, a condition called fibrosis. When your liver is heavily scarred, the blood trying to flow through it hits a solid brick wall. But your heart doesn't stop. It keeps forcefully pumping blood toward the liver. This creates a massive, catastrophic backup of hydraulic pressure inside your portal vein. The pressure becomes so astronomically high that the watery plasma of your blood literally begins to sweat and weep directly through the walls of the veins, pooling massively in the empty cavity of your abdomen. That hard, tight belly is actually gallons of trapped fluid. A major clinical study published in the Journal of Hepatology examined patients with this exact type of severe abdominal distension. They discovered that in cases of advanced liver stress, up to 60% of the belly was pure fluid retention. The liver was so damaged and exhausted that it completely stopped producing albumin, the vital protein that acts like a sponge to hold fluid inside your blood vessels. Without albumin, the water simply leaks into your gut. If you have the hard drum, your liver is actively suffocating. You do not need to go on a treadmill. You need a massive, immediate liver rehabilitation protocol. The prognosis here relies entirely on how fast you can stop the internal injury. First, you must immediately eliminate all biological solvents. Alcohol is a solvent. It literally dissolves the fragile lipid membranes of your liver cells. If your belly is hard, alcohol is completely non-negotiable. It has to stop today. But equally toxic and far more common is high fructose corn syrup. Unlike glucose, which your muscles can burn, fructose bypasses every cell in your body and goes straight to the liver to be metabolized. To your liver, a can of soda is biologically identical to a can of beer, just without the buzz. Second, you must initiate the TUDCA flush. TUDCA is a highly specific, naturally occurring bile salt, and it is an absolute miracle for a congested, suffocating liver. When your liver is inflamed, the bile it produces becomes thick, toxic sludge. Imagine trying to suck thick mud through a tiny straw. TUDCA chemically thins out this bile. It turns the toxic sludge back into free-flowing water, allowing your liver to physically flush the inflammatory garbage out of your body. Third, you must patch the leaks with the vitamin E complex. I am not talking about the cheap synthetic vitamin E you find at the grocery store pharmacy. You need the full-spectrum family, specifically a compound called tocotrienols. In rigorous clinical trials, tocotrienols act like microscopic fire extinguishers for liver fibrosis. They have been shown to actively halt the progression of scar tissue, effectively repairing the cellular damage and stopping the fluid from leaking into your abdomen. Now let us shift gears entirely to the second archetype, Type 2, the Hormonal Shield. You look in the mirror and you do not see a hard drum. Instead, you see a low-hanging, incredibly soft, squishy pooch that sits right at or below your belt line. It feels totally different from the liver belly. It feels like a thick layer of protective bubble wrap. Historically, we saw this heavily in women. But today, modernized men are developing this exact belly shape at absolutely alarming epidemic rates. This specific pouch is the undeniable physiological fingerprint of estrogen dominance. Now, if you are a man, do not tune this out. You might think estrogen is strictly a female hormone, but in our modern, industrialized world, we are all swimming in a toxic chemical soup that actively mimics estrogen inside the human body. This type of fat is called subcutaneous fat. It sits just beneath the skin. It is not the deep, visceral fat that causes an immediate heart attack, but it is the most incredibly stubborn fat on the human body, and it absolutely refuses to leave. Here is the terrifying biology. The more of this soft belly fat you have, the more of an enzyme called aromatase you produce. Aromatase literally converts your healthy testosterone into estrogen. The more estrogen you produce, the more your body signals your fat cells to aggressively store even more fat in the lower abdomen and hips. It is a vicious, inescapable, self-perpetuating feedback loop from hell. But what triggers it in the first place? It is the variable that almost no one in the fitness industry talks about, the plastic connection. You could eat a perfectly clean diet, but if you are drinking your water out of soft plastic bottles that have been sitting in a hot delivery truck, you are continuously microdosing yourself with xenoestrogens. A terrifying report analyzing global endocrine disruptors concluded that the average modernized human consumes roughly a credit card's worth of microscopic plastic particles every single week. Your soft, hormonal shield belly is essentially a biological storage unit for these synthetic toxins. To strip this shield away, doing crunches is useless. We have to shut down the rogue hormone factory. We need a powerful aromatase inhibitor. Pharmaceutical drugs can do this, but they come with devastating side effects. Fortunately, nature engineered a flawless solution, the cruciferous heavyweights. Vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and kale contain a brilliant compound called indole 3-carbinol. When this compound hits your stomach acid, it breaks down into a molecule called DIM. DIM is the ultimate biological traffic cop for toxic estrogen. It binds to the dangerous, highly potent estrogen molecules and forcefully pushes them down a benign, harmless chemical pathway so they can be excreted. However, you cannot just eat a single stalk of broccoli and expect your belly to vanish. You need a massive, concentrated dose. A high-quality DIM supplement combined with a compound called calcium D-glucarate acts as a highly specialized detox team. The DIM neutralizes the toxic estrogen, and the calcium D-glucarate ensures that the estrogen is permanently expelled through your digestive tract, rather than being reabsorbed back into your bloodstream. And for the love of your longevity, you must stop heating your food in plastic containers. Switch your entire kitchen to glass. When you put a plastic container in the microwave, you are literally chemically cooking the soft belly fat directly onto your own body. Finally, we arrive at the third and most systematically destructive archetype, Type 3, the stress apron. This is the classic heavy, sagging belly. Unlike the soft, subcutaneous pouch we just discussed, this is visceral fat. It is thick, dangerous fat that is physically wrapped tightly around your internal vital organs, your pancreas, your intestines, and your heart. This apron of fat is meticulously constructed by two biological architects working in absolute tandem, cortisol and insulin. Let us break down this exact mechanism, because understanding this will change how you view your entire life. Cortisol is your ancient survival hormone. If you were a caveman and a tiger jumped out of the bushes, your brain would spike your cortisol. This spike instantly floods your blood with energy so you can sprint for your life. Today, there are no tigers, but there is chronic anxiety. Maybe you are overwhelmed by financial stress. Or perhaps you are a caregiver, waking up at 3 in the morning, night after night, to the crackling sound of an infant monitor. Your body does not know the difference between a hungry tiger and chronic sleep deprivation. It interprets both as a lethal threat. It stays locked in a state of high alert, fight or flight panic 24 hours a day. When your cortisol is chronically elevated, it does something absolutely horrifying. Imagine you have a house, which represents your muscle tissue, and you have cash in the bank, which represents your stored sugar. The chronic stress ignores the cash. It walks straight into your house, rips the copper wiring out of the walls, and sells it. Your body literally begins to break down your own lean muscle tissue, your thighs, your glutes, your shoulders. It converts that precious protein into raw sugar and violently dumps it into your bloodstream to give you the energy to fight the imaginary tiger. But you aren't fighting a tiger, you are just sitting exhausted in a chair. So, your blood sugar massively spikes for no physical reason. Your pancreas senses this dangerous flood of sugar and screams, "Emergency!" It violently pumps out massive amounts of insulin. Insulin's only job is to store excess energy. Since you are not sprinting, the insulin takes that sugar, which used to be your healthy muscle, and stores it as highly inflammatory visceral fat, packing it into the safest, most central place it knows, deep inside your abdomen. You are quite literally dissolving your own skeletal muscle to construct a toxic belly. A monumental study conducted by the University of Chicago Medical Center proved this reality. They took perfectly healthy, fit young men and restricted their sleep to just 4 hours a night for a single week. In that incredibly short time, their biological ability to process glucose plummeted by 40%. They became medically pre-diabetic in 7 days. Their cortisol levels remained astronomically elevated late into the evening, completely paralyzing their ability to burn fat. This confirms the absolute, undeniable truth of the stress apron. If you are not sleeping, you are never going to lose the belly. So, how do we dismantle the apron? The absolute worst thing you can do is sign up for a high-intensity, exhausting boot camp. Hardcore exercise physically spikes cortisol. If you are already drowning in stress from work or sleep deprivation, doing a grueling CrossFit workout is like throwing a bucket of gasoline onto a raging fire. You will burn calories, but you are biochemically commanding your body to hold on to every single ounce of visceral fat for survival. To beat the stress apron, you must execute a specific, two-part physiological reset. First, you need the anti-cortisol walk. You must abandon the exhausting sprints and embrace long, slow, low-intensity movement, a 30-minute daily walk, or light rucking with a comfortable backpack in nature. This specific cadence of movement burns raw fat without ever ringing the biological alarm bell. It actively lowers your serum cortisol. It signals profound safety to your nervous system. When the brain finally feels safe, it releases the fat. Second, you must execute the insulin reset. We have to stop the pancreas from panicking. This means intermittent fasting is absolutely non-negotiable. We must give your digestive system a vacation. When you engage in a focused fasting window, like the OMAD protocol we have discussed before, you force your insulin to drop to its absolute baseline. This is the chemical key that unlocks the visceral fat vault. But fasting must be paired with carbohydrate restriction. Remember, your stressed body is already turning your muscle into sugar. If you eat a massive plate of pasta or processed carbohydrates on top of that, you are just fueling the fire. A low-carbohydrate, nutrient-dense diet is the sharpest, most precise surgical knife you can use to cut away the stress apron. And to help chemically dampen that frantic cortisol response, we look to natural adaptogens. High-quality ashwagandha has been proven in randomized, controlled clinical trials to significantly lower serum cortisol levels. If you pair that with a dose of magnesium glycinate right before bed, you will dramatically deepen your sleep architecture. And deep sleep is the exact exclusive biological window where visceral fat is permanently destroyed. Now it is time for total integration. You need to look in the mirror again and be brutally honest with yourself. If you have the hard drum, you must immediately stop the alcohol, eliminate the high fructose corn syrup, take the TUDCA, and save your suffocating liver. If you have the soft hormonal shield, you must throw away the plastic bottles, embrace the cruciferous vegetables, take the DIM supplement, and pull the synthetic estrogen out of your tissues. If you have the heavy, sagging stress apron, you must prioritize your sleep, embrace the daily anti-cortisol walk, utilize intermittent fasting, and force your body back into a state of neurological safety. Most importantly, you must realize that you might be a hybrid. You might have the stress apron and the hormonal shield at the exact same time. This is incredibly common in the modern world. If that is you, you start with the fasting and walking to conquer the insulin, and you clean up your plastic environment to conquer the estrogen. But the ultimate, overriding golden rule for all three archetypes is this: patience is not passive. Patience is active, relentless waiting. It took your body years of biochemical confusion to construct that belly. It is absolutely not going to vanish in a single weekend. If this deep dive helped you finally identify your true archetype, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell. My commitment is to strip away the marketing lies of the fitness industry and bring you the pure, unvarnished medical truth every single week. Before you leave, drop a comment down below. Tell me, Which of the three archetypes are you currently seeing in the mirror, and what is the very first change you're going to make today? I read your comments, and your real-world struggles help me design the exact protocols you need to survive. Take care of your hormones, take care of your liver, and take care of your heart. I will see you in the next video.